What happens when you die? When you die, you have choices. You don't know this, but you have choices. When you leave your physical body, it is very typical for you to see yourself standing next to your body with either your loved ones or EMTs or whatever the circumstances are. And you see yourself, and then you'll hear a voice, you'll see the tunnel of light, and the voice will be calling you, or you will hear the voice telepathically telling you to come on, come. Now, as you stand there and you're looking at the tunnel of light, you have a choice. You can go up to this tunnel of light where you be with other loved ones that have crossed over, usually, all right? And you'll be put into a system where you are essentially caught in a reincarnational cycle, a loop. Or you can turn around
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Thursday, July 24th, 2025, and we're going out of the matrix into prime reality. Couldn't be a more fitting tagline for today. Thanks so much for joining us on X, Rumble, and YouTube. Thank you for being in the live chat. Kristin is there, is Inspired, my wonderful wife. And I think Ronnie's on the way, our wonderful moderator. So today's subject, we've talked about in the last couple of years, on and off. You know this if you've been with us. And it's one that probably was most controversial, triggered so many people, the quote unquote soul trap. So here's the buried lead. There is no external soul trap, if you will, but we can most certainly get trapped in something. And I think we need to very honestly talk about this. So let's check fear at the door. And let's look at this from all relevant perspectives. The question here is whether when we cross over, when we leave this physical body, whether we are free, which is oftentimes what is portrayed as everything that was bad, suffering, sadness, anxiety, fear, all of it falls away. That's how people see it often. And then when they cross over, they go into this heavenly, beautiful realm. And it's basically all hunky-dory. And they meet their loved ones and their dogs and their God. And they are happily ever after in eternal life. That is one version of this. The opposite version of this is you cross over and you pay for your sins and you go to this hot place that people call hell. Like that is another very prominent version. And then there is the third big one, which is the reincarnation cycle, which means that we leave this physical body and we have this thing called what is called a life review. And in this life review, you have soul council guides or elders, and you're looking at your life. You're looking at it oftentimes through the lens of the people that you interacted with. So you feel what they felt, their sadness or their joy, or, you know, you feel how maybe someone felt betrayed by you or hurt. So you get to see and feel everything that happened in your life. There's almost like a recording on a screen that's playing. And then oftentimes you get rest. You can rest in this space that is more free and more loving and more beautiful before you basically come back and you say, okay, so I have karma to work off. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to do this now. I'm going to learn more. I'm going to expand more. And we have explored over the years, both in meditation, in conversation, in research, in contemplation, what might be true about these concepts and what might not be true. What is clearly 100% a truth is that life does not end with the end of the physical body. As a matter of fact, everything points me to say that life in the physical body is but a fraction of what the totality of life can be. So we are in this body experiencing sort of a small fragment of what life really all is and can be. So it's more the other way around, you know. I often now chuckle when people say, "Man, you're living the dream," and I say, "You know, I really am." This is the dream. This is the Maya. This is what they call the illusion. This is what they call the simulation, the construct. But for today's conversation, I don't want to go so deep into the principles of the construct, but rather, is there a trap? And we will play the video that we saw in the intro by Alex Collier in its totality towards the end of the show. But first, let's go into why we are thinking about this, all of us. Why is this something that we are concerned with? Well, the interesting part is that there seems to be something in our DNA that was coded there. So some entities coded it into the human DNA that makes us prone to look to external authority. So we have sort of this worship authority gene in us where we go and we're very prone to need leadership outside of us, you know, need a bigger figure that knows more and authority. And that can be in the human realm, just another human being, someone above us, a wise teacher, a boss, a parent, a grandparent. And in the spiritual realm, clearly that is God, that is the deity externalized, this all-knowing being that sort of pulls the strings. So that's kind of, it's coded into our DNA. That's why so many people look for that. So let's for a moment make the assumption that any all-encompassing intelligence can and in fact does live inside of us, and that we are a part of it. If we are a part of it, then we may or may not be willing to let go of this external authority thing, that there is this either all-knowing, all-judging figure that needs to be loved, feared, and all of the above, and we can go, okay, how would I explore life if this presence lived inside of me? Now, all of a sudden, I don't have to look outside of me for decisions, judgments, and whatnot. And the real fear of the soul trap, I think, comes from the realization that in this realm, everything is very relative. It's a realm of duality. It's a realm of polarity. It's a realm of a lot of suffering. And that seems to be somehow true for almost all times and epochs in history that we can look at. We can't seem to find this, you know, this time period where life on Earth in this construct was pure and beautiful and no suffering. I think it was much purer at some point than it is now. So now, if we look at a life in suffering, and most people have more suffering than beauty in their lives currently, then when we cross over, why wouldn't we go for all the beauty, all the love that's being presented to us? Why wouldn't we go for the first thing that's shown to us that brings us relief? Because we already suffered in these bodies. We already were in pain. We already were in sadness and grief or anxiety or depression, everything that this world throws at us. So now when we cross, there's this figure, a light, a tunnel, a voice, angelic music, our relatives. Why wouldn't we go for that? It just doesn't seem to make sense not to do it. But what if we did not cross over in pain or in suffering or in sadness or in anxiety, but we actually crossed over at a very high in a very high state, in the state of maybe even exhilaration, of joy, of love, of freedom. Now, would we be so one or single-minded to not even explore what else there might be and just go for the first thing that shows up? I don't think so. And see, when we're in a balanced state in our lives, while we're here in this avatar, when we're balanced and in harmony and in love, we tend to be able to look around us and look in front of us, to the sides of us and behind us. And we don't make a choice in fear. We choose with love what intuitively is the right decision. So if I look at karma, I don't see that karma is an absolute system. Whatever created karma, when we look at how it functions and operates, it's a very complex, intertwined operating system that I think is very focused on this realm that we're in. I know that in the traditional teachings of karma, it goes into other dimensions, and we can get to that. But in simple terms, karma seems to be the invisible strings that push and pull things in this realm, and that bring people together and circumstances and situations, and it's why we land so often in the same place over and over again, until, and that's what we're taught, until we learn our lesson, like in school, and then we can progress to the next stage. I at this point in my studies, in my contemplation, I believe karma to be an operating system, but not a mandatory one. We choose it. Like, I think at a level where when we choose it, it is like this grand play, this very interesting thing, this very intricate thing. Like, it gives us all these opportunities. It's almost like this huge menu that we get to look at before we come into this realm, and we can choose all the components of it. Like, we can look at it and go, oh, I want to experience this, and I want to experience that. I want to feel this. And then karma is the system. It's like an algorithm, if you will, an algorithm that makes this happen, that orchestrates this, that calculates everything, that can basically maneuver or have authority over this realm and then make it happen. However, just like you can use the apps that are already installed on your phone, let's just say karma is an app that's already installed on your phone, and it controls everything, or you can choose not to use it. And this is, I think, the first realization that most people have a very hard or strong reaction to is, what if karma just, it's not that it is, but that it is a choice. So if that is true, hypothetically speaking, that karma is not a necessity but a choice, what would be outside of karma, and how could we live outside of karma? As a matter of fact, prominent teachers, authors, and researchers of the past century, people like Dolores Cannon, which many are familiar with, have actually, through all the past life regressions and the knowledge that has come through, explored that there are quite a few people here right now in this realm, on this earth, that didn't come through the karmic cycle and don't have any karma as they come in. So why? Well, the general idea is these are ascended masters. And, well, that's one way to look at it. Another way is maybe that at some point they chose not to play the game any longer. The game of life, which is the game of karma. So what else could there be? Well, the game of life and the game of karma works with the principle of authority over you, outside of you. You agree to this system that has authority over you, and then you agree to the council of 12, or the council of elders, or whatever, to interpret your karmic experience with and for you, and to design yet another lifetime for you. To whose benefit? Whose benefit? Let's just say you've been here 100, 200, 300 times. Now, what else could there possibly be to see or learn that you couldn't see in 200 or 300 times in this realm? And are you still choosing, or did you forget that there was a choice? And this is where I think we get to the crux of it. We forgot that there is a choice, collectively speaking, and so we just roll with whatever comes. In life, we roll with the punches, and after life, we roll with the relief until it puts us back into the punches. And over and over and over and over this goes. And we're here, I think, at a juncture right now where more people than probably ever before are asking the bigger questions. Is this really how it needs to work? Whatever you think about this realm, do you think it's all there is? Do you think there's much more to experience? Do you think that there's an infinity to explore or be in versus just this experience here? I believe so. I tend not just to believe, but actually know. So really, the trap does not begin in the afterlife, if you will, if you want to call it a trap, and we will soften that language in a moment. The trap is to already live a life that sets you up to be recycled, that already pushes you in that direction. And what is this freedom craving that so many of you are having? Why are so many of you craving freedom and sovereignty? And what are you craving freedom and sovereignty from? You're not really craving freedom and sovereignty from anything in this realm here. That's just the game. You're actually on a deeper level, remembering that you are on all levels free to choose. And now you want to live that on all levels, including when you leave here and you go, do I really have to do this again? And this whole idea that karma is like a school, or that the system is like a school, just, it doesn't really compute. It doesn't really, it's like, let's just say you go and use this analogy. Let's say you go to elementary school and you learn how to write, and you learn how to spell, and you learn how to do basic math, and you learn all these things. And so then you have completed elementary school and you have learned your lessons, and now you can progress into middle school. But imagine that on the first day of middle school, you arrive there and your brain is wiped, your mind is wiped. You don't know anything anymore. You forgot everything. How in the world does that make any sense that you would go and do elementary school, and then you can go to middle school, but shit, there's nothing there. You have to start all over again. And so this idea that this is a school, yes, if you believe that it is, then it is. But what if you don't? What if you are a free and sovereign co-creator rather than bound by all these preset rules? What would happen then? Well, then you would live without fear. You would live without avoidance. You would live without blame and shame and guilt. All these emotions that we are somehow bound to be kept in this karmic cycle. And I think it's the shame and the guilt and the fear and the avoidance and the drama that pulls us back into it every single time that we'll leave this body. So what would be a different path? Because see, like I said before, I think we are setting our own traps. Yes, there is a system out there. Yes, there is this, you can call it an archontic system or a dark system. Yes, there are these entities. They play the game, but they have so little power over the spirit that knows, or none whatsoever over the spirit that knows. So they just decked it out with all the bells and whistles. Like they just made it really shiny, like a theme park. A really good theme park can make you forget that it's not real. Like for a while, a really good theme park pulls you in so strongly that you believe it, right? It's when you go to these, remember there were these these old 3D like little boxes in the theme parks you could go in, and they were these simulators, and you sat in there and you saw the screen, and then it took you on a journey, and it was moving and it was shaking, and wind and whatever. And for a moment you forgot that it wasn't real, and you got scared of what you saw on the screen, and the thing was moving and shaking. But then you stepped out of it and you realized it was just a theme park. This wasn't real. And so these entities have decked it all out like it looks real, it feels real, they can simulate certain things. But what if you would just for a moment stop and look around you after you leave this body and go, what else might there be? What if this is not the only thing? And it starts right now here. In other words, the sovereignty of your choices in the afterlife are basically just as sovereign as your choices here. So you decide how you live your life. Are you still avoiding what wants to be seen, the truth that keeps showing up, but you push it away? If you are, what makes you think that you won't do the same thing when you cross over? Are you still playing it small and pretending that you have no or very little power, and that everyone else around you and outside of you and this God figure with the white beard knows everything and you know nothing? Okay, well, if you believe that, you're going to be served with everything that reflects that belief. Do you still think that you don't deserve to have all the beauty and the love and the joy and the abundance that infinity has to offer? Well, if you still believe you don't deserve that, then that's what's going to be served to you, and that's what you're going to keep believing even beyond this body. If there's anything that gets misconstrued the most, is that all these insecurities, all these fears are just connected to the physical body, and they so magically just all fall away once you leave it. And that just doesn't seem to be the truth. Over and over and over again, in the afterlife communication, it gets shown to us that no, these insecurities, these fears, they come with you, and they will continue to influence you. And so if we then look at why are we talking so often about living your best life, becoming the best possible version of you, creating freely, it's because when you do it now and practice it now and remember it now and live it now, how could you possibly forget it when you cross over? And how could you possibly be bound by anything but your own guidance, your own compass? So if you are not willing in this physical life to give over authority over your life to something or someone else, why would you then do it in the afterlife? Just assuming that you are this beautiful, all-encompassing divinity, that it lives inside of you and that you are a spark of it, why would you ever give that away? And so when we talk about this trap, and many times people express it in fearful ways, and they're I think they mean well, but what they're saying is, here's how you learn to avoid it. When avoidance is like, you can't avoid anything. You can choose to walk in a different direction, but how do you avoid something? It's like saying, let me try and pick something up from the floor. You either do it or you don't. So avoidance is a theoretical principle. You choose to go in one direction or you choose to go into another direction. But if you live in the spirit of avoidance, that which you want to avoid, it's even going to be pulled stronger to you than before. So the trap is what we believe in, and who we are right now. That's the trap. That's the soul trap, if you will. And there are entities who are benefiting from us going through the cycle over again. There are really entities who feed off of the low vibrational energy and the loosh. That is real. But their power over us is minuscule to non-existent if we wake up to a certain degree to who we really are. And how does this, how do you know in your own life that you have transcended something, or that you have actually really started to step out of karma? Well, I give you just how it was for me, and my experience was that in the first couple decades of my life, just like everybody else, I had dreams and hopes and desires. And it seemed like no matter what I did or didn't do, I kept ending up in the same or similar situations and facing the same challenges. It was almost like they were pre-recorded. It's like they were predestined to be there. It's almost like I couldn't help it. And then, you know, I started remembering it, and people started telling me about the karma and the karmic principles and whatnot. And that made sense to me. And I said, oh, that's just my karma. So this happening over and over again is just my karma. And for a moment, that gave me a sense of relief, because I was like, oh, there's not much I can do about that. It's just going to happen. And then I felt very quickly afterwards, I felt sort of, man, did I just give a lot of power away here? What can I actually do about it? Like, what is it that I can actually do to not end up in the same situation? And then the answer started coming from the people around me, the people closest to me. Well, how about instead of trying to run from this, you actually walk straight into it and deal with it, right? So there's this non-avoidance anymore. You just walk straight into it. And when I did that, it led me on a journey that I call healing. Healing from false beliefs, healing from past pains, healing from anything that is false. And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, it felt like, rather than my life was this painting that was already painted and I was just in it, it felt like I was looking at a blank canvas. So now the question was, what do I put on that canvas? Now I have a blank canvas and I'm painting the story of my life here rather than playing it out. See, there's a huge difference in playing out the story that was orchestrated by whomever, even me, or by creating it as I go. And when this blank canvas was in front of me, it also made me realize that there are no more preset paths. Now, everywhere I go, I'm forging the path as I go. It's a very different feeling. So then the question was, all these stories that I heard about leaving the body, and then all these mechanisms that fall into place, and all these, your life's going to be evaluated. You're going to evaluate your life, and there's going to be all this classification and maybe judgment and all that. And somehow I was like, no, there's some things like off with that. That can't be it. That can't be true. That's not what freedom is. That's not what my sovereignty is. And so then that was the moment at some point where I wondered, can you jump off this karma wheel? Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. But it is a choice. And it is my understanding that if we live like this while we are here, we are just as sovereign in our decisions when we leave here. And what would we fear then? Like, what would we fear? Even in this realm, when you know who you really are, when you know that you are this spark of divinity, this co-creative entity that was created from all that is and can be, what do you really fear any longer? Yes. Is there discomfort? Sure, the human body will go through discomfort, and this human experience will show you some of that. But what do you really fear? Like, what is there to fear? It's just a little tiny, short little experience here. What is there to fear? So if you choose, and if that's what you want to do, like you want to come back here and have another experience, there's no judgment in that. Just make sure it's something that you decide freely, completely freely, because you want to. not because you're bound by something or someone or a system. And so I don't think I ever consciously or voluntarily used the word soul trap or the term as like, as this big thing. I think there's a reason why we're having these conversations, why so many people are sharing about this subject, why so many people are interested in it. I think it is supposed to trigger a bigger evolution in the human family, and I think it might be just a time in the infinity of no time where more people than ever realize this and make a different choice. So I think there is no way you can be forced into anything. But if you live your life now as though you can be forced into anything, and as though you are the victim of your circumstances, and as though others have authority over you, and as though you have no power over your choices, then that's going to be reflected in the afterlife perfectly to you, and it's going to be so natural to you, you're just going to go with it. Oh, this is how it's always been. There's always somebody above me. There's always a bigger bear, right? We're so we're so programmed into this authority structure that once we leave this body, it's so natural. There's just another boss. Yes, more loving, less harsh. It's all more beautiful, but still just another boss. And then the boss says, well, here's this new thing we set up for you. This is going to be this new experience for you. And you should really do it. It's going to benefit you. Well, or what's the alternative? No boss, no authority. You are it. And once you leave this body, you do it in your time. You don't go in on a track, in a tunnel, on a bus, on a train, or any other structure, but you move at your own pace. You look around you. You tune in just like you would in meditation, and you go, where's home? Where does my spirit want to go? What does it want to reunite with really? And also to go into what is the benefit of the technology that we're seeing now. Here's a benefit. While we are clearly very, very critical, all of us, I think of the incredible danger or the incredible negative potential of all the AI stuff that's out there, but it is showing us something. It is showing us that it can mimic and simulate real things now very, very convincingly. So images and videos become so convincing that most people can't tell the difference. Well, what is that showing us? That when we go in the afterlife, that kind of potential exists there too. So you might see people that look like your deceased relatives. You might see, something that looks like your dog that you loved from your childhood and finally you reunited. You might see all this, but what if it isn't real? What if it is the astral AI that creates all this and creates this high energy field that you feel pulled to because you were in so much pain and suffering, and now you want the relief, now you want the reunion? And what if all the real spirits that you actually would reunite with are on the other side of this, where you turn around, where you go into the real directions of the infinity of universe, if you will? So in other words, if you want freedom, if you want sovereignty, love, joy, happiness, I don't know any other way but to live it now. I don't know but to any other way than to deprogram all the fear, all the false concepts, and live that total expansion of life. And then I don't see a way how that could go in the wrong direction, if you will, in the afterlife. And I do think that you and I and so many out there, we have decided to remind each other of that. Like that was part of our idea when we came here is we need to remember that as we move through this, so we can release and transcend all the fear, all the crap, and live up to the fullest potential and live up to what we decided we were going to do. Because just because you weren't bound by karma when you came here, it doesn't mean that we're not accumulating it if we forget about it. You know, it's interesting how there are these choices, and some of our life choices seem to activate something that's much bigger. Like, you all know, there are these moments, and you can feel them, and these moments carry so much weight. And if we choose fear in these moments, it seems like our life goes in a completely different trajectory all of a sudden, until we realize it, and then we can choose love again. So if people out there are very insistent on, this is a trap, you can't get out of it, you know, this is all set up by the archons or set up by Yaldabaoth, and it is inevitable, that's bullshit. That's either their own fear programming speaking, or it's, you know, a possessed entity or a possessed human being, and that entity is speaking through them. But no, you're powerful beyond belief. You're powerful beyond imagination. You always have been. So let's play this clip here by Alex Collier that we teased sort of in the beginning in its entirety. Let's look at this together.
Happens when you die. When you you have choices. You don't know this, but you have choices. When you leave your physical body, it is very typical for you to see yourself standing next to your body with either your loved ones or EMTs or whatever the circumstances are. And you see yourself, and then you'll hear a voice, you'll see the tunnel of light, and a voice will be calling you, or you will hear the voice telepathically telling you to come on, come. Now, as you stand there and you're looking at the tunnel of light, you have a choice. You can go up to this tunnel of light, where you'll be with other loved ones that have crossed over, usually, all right? And you'll be put into a system where you are essentially caught in a reincarnational cycle, a loop. Or you can turn around, put the tunnel of light behind you, and what you will see is the entire universe. If you choose to go to the universe instead of the tunnel of light, whatever dimension you came from when you came down here to Earth, okay, we'll keep it all present time and place. Earth, whether it was 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th density, whatever it was, if you choose the universe and you say to yourself, I wish to go home, you will return to that dimension from which you came. So if it's 5, 6, 7, or 8, you will leave here and you will go back to that dimension, where I am told to be reunited with your soul. Because we were multidimensional, we're in many places at once. I've never shared this information before.
So I really like this clip, and I would say, and I don't want to, I don't want to say he's wrong in anything he said here. That's not to say, but I would say that the most important information here is that you have a choice. You have a choice now. You have a choice in 5 minutes. You'll have all the choices in eternity to make. They're yours. So when you are at that juncture, when it comes to the end of this physical life in this current body that you're in, remember that you have a choice, that you always had a choice, and that you always will have a choice. And then you choose the right thing for you. It's all of this, everything, everything is an inside job. There is, this is, this is where it gets so challenging to use words. There isn't really anything outside of us. Like, yes, we have this hologram that's playing out, and it it seems so real, but truly, when it comes down to the truth of all truths, is there's nothing outside of us. There's just a projection, there's just a perception, there's just an expression of something. But everything in this life and beyond is an inside job. Everything. Nothing, there's nothing that can force you into anything unless you give it permission and you choose that. Unless you accept it, and you can even accept it under duress. You can even say, I don't want this, but I still accept it, and you've still agreed to it. You know what I mean? It's like, in the most difficult, challenging situations that I have found myself in this physical life, and some of them were, well, let's just say, extremely life-altering, potentially. Every single time, one thing happened that changed everything. In the beginning of the experience, usually I felt overwhelmed by the situation, which put me in a state of powerlessness, which put me in a state of, I have no control over this, which basically put me in a state of being a victim. So that's the first thing that happened, and that happens in a few seconds. Your body reacts that way. Your biochemistry, all the everything, the hormones, everything. And then the situation appeared hopeless to me, which either at some, it could have been, maybe this is the end. Maybe this is, I don't know, something really bad, or prison, or whatever. And then every single time, for one reason or another, I remembered that I'm neither a victim, nor am I helpless, nor am I small, nor am I not in control of this. And I started to move into the remembering of who I really am, which is a very, very powerful creator, as are you, by the way. It's not unique to me. And every single time, the result was that I was able, or we were able, if it was more of us, or if it was Kristin and I, to transcend a seemingly helpless, hopeless situation and walk away from it completely free and better for it every single time. So what did it every single time? It was an inside job. It was an inside shift. It was never a miraculous being appeared and fixed the situation for me. Maybe, just maybe, a miraculous being appeared inside of me and helped me do that, sure. And this is much more what it felt like. But anyone that wants you to give your power away is not on your team. Anyone that wants you to give authority away from you to them does not have your best interest at heart. It doesn't matter whether they're a politician or whether they're whatever they are. This is not how anything works. You can have assistants, you can have helpers, you can have people to support you. But if someone asks you to give them your authority, your power, turn around, walk away. They are an expression of this cycle that you probably don't want to be in. On the flip side of this, when you step into this conscious co-creator state of being that's so natural to you, the impossible becomes possible. The unlikely becomes likely. But all of this is happening inside of you. You can jump through as many hoops as you want and burn the sage and dance around the bonfire and do all the rituals. And I have nothing inherently against rituals as long as they are an inside creation, just finding an outside expression. But it's mostly the other way around. People use them as a spiritual bypassing or any other crap. And when you just own it, not in judgment, but just in acceptance, you've just released all this freaking resistance. And then what soul trap? Soul trap? Excuse me? You mean to tell me that you can trap me into anything, that you have that kind of power over me? Well, let me say this to you. Go love yourself. I'm not even saying go fuck yourself. I'm saying go love yourself a little more so you realize this is never going to happen. So no, there's no trap that has authority over you. The trap's inside. The trap is fear, avoidance, playing it small, pretending you're something else, and identifying with this reality as though it were real. Live it, play with it, do what you want with it, but no, it's not real. It's not who you really are. This body's not who you are. This mind is not who you are. Your thoughts in this body are not who you are. And you know this, you notice this very quickly when you go into a transcending meditation. And a transcending meditation means you actually transcend the state of your body. You see it immediately that none of it is real. And that everything that is actually outside of this is real. So I'm going to leave it at that, folks. And I invite you over. We're doing, we're going to do a Q&A. I don't know if it's going to be today, later in the afternoon, on Locals, or maybe tomorrow, but we're doing shows there all the time and videos and coffee and truths. But our inspired community on Locals is where we go a little deeper and have deeper interactions, and it's a little more intimate. And Kristin often says to me that I share things there that I don't share anywhere else, and that's probably true. Because it kind of feels like we're sitting in we're sitting in the living room, we're sitting around the bonfire together. It's a really wonderful group of people. That's at inspired.locals.com if you want to join us. So I'm sending you much love, my friends, many blessings, and we will be back with you again very, very soon. Are you looking for like-minded and like-hearted people to connect with? Then the Inspired Community on Locals is the right place for you. You can post, comment, share, and connect with others, and our shows there are completely uncensored and unfiltered. It's stuff we can't talk about here. It's such a great community, and there are zero trolls. We keep the subscription fee super low, so 19 cents per day. Keep the trolls away. Join us today at inspired.locals.com. We can't wait to see you there.